Okay, we are now live on Facebook. I mean, on YouTube.
I'm gonna shut this door. Okay, it's after 9 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and call the work session of the County Board of Commissioners to order. And with that, we've got the agenda items here in front of you, but we're going to move some things around to facilitate and accommodate some folks that are dialed in. So first on our agenda will be the Squirrel Bluff Economic Impact Study.
Chairman Allen, just a quick background. So a few weeks ago, we received a draft, and every member of the commission also received a draft. We had a couple meetings and went through a series of question and answer periods with Randy and his team at Sports Strategies, and it resulted in this final product, which I'm going to give him the opportunity to present to y'all officially. And it looks like he has been able to join us. So, or who do we have? So if it would please the chair, I would go ahead and turn it over to Sports Strategies and let them do an introduction to it, since this is the official final product, and then we'll perhaps go from there.
Randy, you want to take it and run with it for us?
Yeah, sure will. Hey everybody, this is Randy Doe with Sports Strategies. Joining you from Holden Beach, North Carolina. And I'm going to let Alex Morrison, who is our consultant working with us on this project, take the lead. But Alex, go ahead and take it away.
Hey, Alex.
Howdy. Alex Morrison was the economic consultant on this study, looking at the numbers for Squirrel Bluff, and since y'all already have the report, don't know that we need to walk all the way through it. But just basically, the goal here is to help you all answer the question of what will the economic impact of the planned improvements be from the state study, and what the impact of the grant would be. So we looked at those numbers, and just not the very least, but just that while there will be some economic impact, the return won't be tremendous just from the activities at the park, and there need to be additional considerations to have maximum impact.
Did we lose it? Are you still there, Alex?
Yes.
Okay, so to summarize, basically you're saying that the return, using your words, not tremendous from the activities at the park.
Yes. I can't, the kind of where things are, I can't really see or hear too many folks, so.
I don't know, follow. I mean, is this presentation done?
Are you saying, are you done?
Well, yes, I stand ready to answer questions that y'all have.
Alex or Randy, I think you ought to at least walk through the conclusions and give some background as to how y'all arrived at this. I mean, all of us have read it, and I I know almost every commissioner I've talked to read it cover to cover, even on the initial draft. But since it's been a few weeks, I would dare to say this would be your opportunity to walk through a little bit about the process, go over your findings, what you found surprising, what you found not surprising, and specifically go over the recommendations, because there is a recommendation section in the conclusions, which if we followed would lead us in a completely different direction. So I figure that would at least be relevant.
And now if I'll step in for just a second, and I'll kind of jump to the conclusions, but Alex really did take the lead on this, and, based on the information that was provided, I think that he really drove this process. But I think that one of the major conclusions is that just doing the capital improvements themselves, in and of itself, will not generate the economic impact. But I think what will happen, or what needs to happen, is that once these improvements have been made, it's really going to come down to programming and marketing, and that's really going to make a difference. Alex?
Right. So just to be clear, we looked at the existing budgets for the park, going back a few years, visitorship, the number of folks who were coming from out of state and in state, trying to get a good gauge based on other parks around the area as to how many of those would be local users or non-local users, because those two groups have different levels of economic impact that you can study. We looked at the hotel report, we looked at sales tax numbers for a few years, including SPOS collections. We looked at hotel motel tax collections and sales from the so, all taken together, those are the things that you would think of as economic impact, not just the number of people coming to the park, but what are they spending in the county when they're there, specific to their visit to the park. And so when you look at how those numbers add up and are generated in terms of retail sales and hotel motel tax collections, multiply those out based on their churn within the local community, you get the overall view of economic impact. We looked at it through the prism of what other parks that have made improvements have done in terms of what types of improvements they've done and what that's done to the visitorship, and through the lens of other economic impact reports that have been done on similar parks. So when we looked at those numbers and put them through that matrix of what type of increase which you expect to see, which is the only thing you can really capture from the economic impact of a state of improvements like this, and then what type of churn would that generate in the community. And it's not an insignificant impact, but if you're looking at it as a return on investment lens, you're going to see that it will take a few years to recoup that investment based on the improvements. But that's not to say that it's not worth doing some of the improvements. It's just that the types of passive improvements that are being made, increases in things like amphitheaters, outdoor classrooms, and the like, are heavily dependent on increased programming and additional facilities that will make those projects viable. And in a park that's remote like this, and while natural beauty is its major selling point, in order to gin up the type of economic activity that you're needing, you're going to have increased focus on heavy programming of the space. So if you build an amphitheater, you have to have consistent programming to get people to come to it. If you build an outdoor classroom, you need to make sure that there are groups that are willing to use that for that purpose. The parks that have seen the biggest impact and growth have been the ones that have focused more on overnight stays and have focused on recreational opportunities. Those tend to be things that are real winners in the coming economy, the post or current COVID economy, are ones that allow social distancing, outdoor space, and other recreational opportunities like weekend hikes, kayak rentals, floating, tubing, bicycles. Those things that people can do individually, have fun, and enjoy themselves. So the other factor here is that we only looked at the park improvements themselves. There are other things that would need to be considered to capture more economic impact, such as whether or not there's a better hotel in the area. So just these improvements themselves would put that over the line per our analysis. And changing some of the zoning of land around the bluff area to be commercial zoning to try and recruit higher intensive uses for land there. Most of that land is very large tracts, farmland, residential land, and so the value of that is somewhat muted. So if you're looking at just the property tax collection line item, some changes in zoning and intensive, dense development would need to be considered there. But the real upshot here is that the bluff will continue to be a valuable resource for the community, and the improvements will definitely be helpful. Clearly looking into it, improvements to the physical space, improvement to bathroom facilities, all those things are necessary just to have continued use of the park. But if you're looking at return on investment, you're going to really need to start looking into additional programming and really trying to focus on overnight guests coming to visit the park.
Anybody have any questions regarding what you just stated?
Chairman, this is Ben. Can you give me a minute? I got my question.
Can you guys hear Commissioner Watson who's on the phone? If they can, I'll ask a question for you.
I'm trying to simplify it. My take on the study was almost as if we should reassess what the plans were on some of the functions of our improvements. But I guess based on some of the comments just now, it seems like they're saying potentially, yes, if you make the improvements, it's based on programming. I guess my question is, I kind of like to know, in terms of programming for events, what are we talking about, and what would be potentially a time frame for a return on investment? Are we thinking we would have to have 5 events a year, and then over a 2.5 year period, you're potentially going to get a bang for your buck and have your return on investments? Or is it some astronomical number of events that we know that may be one item we have to cross off the list? If it's 100 events a year, yeah, that's probably not doable. But I guess I would be curious to know, as strategic, have they thought about the programming in a sense of how many events and what it may take?
Alex or Randy, could y'all hear Commissioner Watson's question?
I can kind of hear him, and it's not going to be just events alone. The events themselves, like if you have some type of event over a weekend, will draw in guests that will create its own economic impact. But the way we have always looked at doing events is there's the event impact proper of the event. Then also there's the opportunity to use the event as a marketing platform for your park. And So when you generate these events, and obviously they have to be done really well, then they generate exposure for people that aren't able to attend the events. But until we could really come in and do an assessment, it's really hard to say exactly what the economic impact or how many events would be there. Because we'd have to dig in, see what the user groups are right now, and identify any other potential opportunities that could be found at the park. But I think that between the events and then the marketing exposure that the events create, that will generate an economic impact. But until we could really do a deeper dive, I'm not sure that we could just say right this moment how many years it would take in order to get the return on the investment. And I think that Fonda may have joined us now too, and she may have something to add as well, or maybe not. So, and Alex.
Okay.
So, I think that's right, Randy. The economic impact of events, you need to know what the events are, what types of ticket prices you're looking at, if you're charging ticket prices, those sorts of things. And we look into what some events be, and to answer Commissioner Watson's question directly, you're not going to be considering a huge number of events that could create that impact, assuming you're charging increased parking rates, capturing those people with overnight stay dinners and things like that, especially since a lot of this law shouldn't want to capture those people with other sales. But again, to look at it, we need to know what the events these are, and that was something outside of the scope of this analysis. But I can tell you that a few big events a year that are consistently programmed, well marketed, will have a pretty significant return. But those will come at a cost if you're going to need to have the staff to do it. You're going to have materials to look at those sorts of things. But when you're looking at capturing the two big sources of revenue that come off a project like this, with the ticket and parking prices themselves and sales tax collection, you're not looking at a huge number. You would want it to be at least monthly.
Well, I go right to the bottom line here in your conclusions, and basically you're saying the county should strongly consider increased programming, as we've stated, that might encourage overnight stays into sports, and consider improving camping facilities. And you also state consider recruiting an outfitter for 2 kayak and bike rentals. So bottom line is it comes down to programming events, utilizing what we have, and then possibly instead of doing things like amphitheaters or interpretive centers, that we consider maybe expanding our overnight stay potential down there with maybe some tent camping or some additional RV pads or something down there, which we clearly have room on the county-owned property down there. So that pretty much summarizes it, right?
Yes, sir.
Jason,
Yeah, I have one question and one comment, Chairman Ellen. So the question is, a lot of the parks where they were used to do comparative analysis, I don't think I've been to any of them. I just was wondering, and I'm not asking this in a critical sense, I'm just asking this in the informational sense. How were those sort of sister facilities chosen? Just from like size and like amenities and proximity?
Yes. You pretty much nailed it.
And then the other comment I would make is where I was shocked, and I think I potential impact would be just from a sales tax standpoint. You know, of course, they're using that 3% as the standard. I mean, considering we share that 3% many different ways, that impact is really negligible. I mean, it's almost non-existent.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Comments?
I just like to comment that, you know, I read the report a couple of times, and I mean, you can, the biggest takeaways, I think, what we just discussed, I think, you know, I don't think anybody here is pretty clear on my position on the bluff. It's natural. I want to keep it natural. I think that's the beauty of it. But even though I don't think that maybe we didn't get the results that maybe some would hope to see from this, I don't think that, I think we still have some improvements that we can make there to improve that park. And we do have county property there. I would like to see those improvements made on the county property.
That would be one of my questions. Do DNR would DNR get involved in any of the improvements we're going to make there?
Only if it's
I think
outside.
I think we established, that was one of my biggest questions last time, and I think we unofficially established by the comments that I think through a contact maybe Jason had and Norman had, or somebody had with a board member, that pretty much, look, if we issued you the grant, then obviously we're okay, because everyone's okay in it, essentially. Right. So, you know, that kind of, you know, that gave me some reassurance that, hey, if we apply for this grant and we get it, we are going to be able to do these things, because they know up front, hey, this is our land, and we lease to them, and they're going to do this, prove to this. You know, key takeaways here, you got to find positive in everything. You know, overnight stay, camping pads. It's a relatively inexpensive investment. Camping pads. We have the infrastructure there to support that. So really, you just talking about clearing some land and some concrete pads. I think it's comparable to some of the other projects that we have. That's mine. Right, minor that could have a really positive economic impact. So, camping. I mean, we got 80 acres top of the hill. 90. I mean, we cut some trail. There's some things we could do relatively inexpensive that could enhance that park. And I really hope we do. I think we should challenge the advisory committee. I would like to challenge them. I would like to go to one of their meetings and tell them, obviously after, you know, consensus of the board, that sounds like we need to change. We need to get out of first gear and go to second. We need to know where second gear is at.
So, I know we're still having discussions about proceeding with that GSOP grant opportunity, because I think that's one of the programs that the state did not cut this year. Maybe they did last minute.
I don't believe so. I don't think it got cut. Randy might know. We filed it to the last few days, so I don't think it got cut.
So there is an opportunity there, and like Commissioner Ellington said, if we go back to the advisory committee and say, okay, let's now we've got this impact study, let's kind of laser in on some specific things that we can accomplish and get this grant, because I mean, what is it? October, this thing has to be in.
I say let's get the ball rolling. We need a bathroom club.
Well, and then that will be something that I think that if we ask for, that even though it's on their land down there, if they approve that money for a grant to improve those restroom facilities down there, you know,
we would need to rework that master plan to submit with the grant. Right. Well, yeah. And so that, we would need to get the ball rolling again.
Do you think we need to revise that whole master plan, or could you just say, here's the master plan, and we just want to take this one piece here? Well,
because in my opinion, that master plan doesn't reflect this direction. I don't know about y'all.
Well, not casting stones here, but we got a cart full of horse. We can't open a master plan before we had this. We should have had this before we had a master plan.
That master plan was done, I think that was done by, I don't know what organization did that. But it was done
I think it was actually done by DNR like 8 years ago. All we did was refresh it, so
Well,
yeah.
maybe we include an update to the master plan as part of the grant submission with some other things that we could possibly do on county-owned
Yeah.
property. You know, if we can.
So yeah, but just like Commissioner Hudson said, a lot of minor stuff could make a major impact, and mostly with that master plan, the state's original version and then our revised version, which didn't change a whole lot. Those were large projects, and although a couple of them translate, most of them don't.
And I think we need to be honest with the advisory committee. We don't need to task them with something and then come up with their idea, and then we don't like their idea and go back for it. We need to go to them what we're looking at.
Probably participate.
Yeah, participate in it, and that way, has the advisory committee been presented this report?
No, we wanted to get through this work session before we gave it to them, so.
Isn't October is a kind of a drop dead date on some of this?
Yeah, for a grant submission, that's
Yeah.
right, yeah.
We have, what needs to be done, do we have enough time? We have about,
Oh, I believe we have plenty of time if we jump on it.
yeah,
Okay. We're gonna talk about divide and conquer here. Paul, you got anything?
Nope.
Good. Any other final thoughts, Alex or Randy? I mean,
Yeah, first I just want to thank y'all for this opportunity, and sorry Alex, I'll jump in for just a moment, but you've got an amazing amenity, and I think that, with some improvements and outdoor recreation programming, you're only going to be able to enhance, something that is a really, really incredible asset. But, we really do appreciate this opportunity to work with you, and we're glad to help in any way we can to move this project forward. Alex? You there, Alex?
I totally agree with Randy's analysis there, and the economic impact reports like this, it's always interesting to see the numbers can really tell a different story from the park. The Spring Bluff Park's a beautiful asset, and I think y'all really have something that y'all can build on.
all right, well, I appreciate the report, and I appreciate it being succinct and to the point, and it's going to be a good tool for us to use as we make some executive decisions going forward with that park down there. So I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank y'all. Stay healthy and safe.
You too. All right.
So before we move on, Mr. Chair, so I would recommend that we go ahead and distribute this to the advisory committee so they can have it on their next agenda, and then one or several of us will plan to attend and just provide some guidance to them, say based on these conclusions, we still feel like we have a pretty compelling grant submittal based on, and really we've got more backup than we had last time.
Yeah.
So the possibility for success with a smaller, more targeted project is probably would increase our chances of getting the grant, and then having this extra study would increase those chances. So.
Just to add to that, but obviously, definitely, like I said, I want to know if they have been submitted this, but we as a board need to have some type of discussion on, if we task this voluntary board to go look at this, and then they come back and we throw everything they do in the trash and come up with our own plan, do we really even need to go there, first of all? And it's an insult to them. So we need to kind of give them some pretty good direction as a consensus of this board, and which route to take and what we're looking at and what improvements
It's
we'd
what
like to see.
we're willing to consider.
Right.
Well, like I said, later on in this meeting, we're going to talk about how we're going to divide and conquer some of our priorities that we're working on in the bluff redevelopment or improvements is part of that list of priorities we're going to talk about. So, that will be a whole nother meeting in and of itself. We sit around and try to figure out some of it. But I know a lot of us have had one-off conversations about what we'd like to see down there, and this study only solidifies a lot of the discussions that we've had. So I think we have some sidebar conversations amongst ourselves, and then, like I said, let's go to the advisory committee meeting and say, hey, these are the things that we'd like to think about that's on the table, because, and the other thing we got to consider too, the bluff is a park, and parks are services, and you don't typically expect a service to be self-sustaining or generate a profit, but this is a unique place, and it can help offset the cost of delivering that service. James and I were talking the other day, and you went down there. What did you see when you were down there?
I went down on the 4th. The first time I'd actually been down on a holiday, I was pleasantly surprised from the staff was very welcome. They didn't recognize me. I was incognito, my straw hat on, behind my sunglasses to stay out of the sun. But we went down the float, and the grass was clean, neat, and cut from the time we took the curve to go past the shows till we got to the gate. Staff was amazing, awesome. And very friendly, welcoming. I mean, it wasn't come on in and you got your back. It was nice. Got down to the park. First guy I see standing down there is Paul Norton, and he's directing traffic. Like if you need to go to the boat ramp, or if you stay at the boat, if you unload boats, if you would park over here. Thanks to Dane, because he had a deputy down there. I did not get the deputy's name, but he was on an ATV side to side, riding around in the park. The park was full, people were out, kids were out, families were down there. It was pretty impressive.
Oh, that's awesome.
And like I said, that's the first time I've been down there on a holiday. And they were well organized, and the park was clean. It just, I don't know, it's pretty impressive to go down there and see that. See it in action. You hear about it, you go down there during the week, but they were ready. They were prepared for whatever came that day. So yeah, I was happy for what I saw.
Excellent.
Pass that along.
I certainly will.
Yeah. Again, it was a Saturday, right? Fortunately, a Saturday.
It was
a
a
holiday.
It was a holiday.
And Paul and his guys were down there.
And I took them on to speak with Paul, and Paul said, hey, we're in here since 5:30, getting everything ready. He said, we were a little bit disappointed the first car didn't show up about 10 minutes late, but that deputy was down there. He was in full uniform. I know it was hot. I mean, got his vest on. But that makes you that was departments working together to get things done. And I owe Dan a call, and I haven't done that yet. But
Good.
Excellent.
And a lot of these people were not from Hutchinson County.
absolutely, I mean, very few people that I recognized.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I know everybody in Hudson County, because that'd be an incorrect statement. But a lot of out-of-town tags. As we floated down the river, I met people as far away as Alabama. Just talk. We were trying to social distance, but you know, you float by somebody, and just a freely environment. It was, I enjoyed it. It was hot.
Well, it's hot.
That's his only complaint, temperature.
Yeah, that's something we had no working on.
All right. All right. Well, I appreciate that. All right, Jason. Move on.
Next item, just going back to the beginning, was just a carryover discussion from our last meeting on the mid-year budgets, because we had, in my opinion, a little bit of technical difficulty hearing from Will from the circuit court on that budget, and we needed some clarification on that, because he had indicated that potentially that budget was changing up to the last minute based on how the state's budget process ended up when they went sine-die in the session. So with that, I'm going to let Wayne clarify a few things. He's actually been working on that up until yesterday evening. Because our intent would be to have it on your agenda for next week to approve. I put just a revised single sheet in your packet, which, at least the best I could tell, reflects what our discussions were at the last meeting. The only thing I did not change was the circuit court budget. I left it as it was submitted. I think
Is that updated as of the, I
As of
from the initial email you sent with the meeting announcement and all the attachments?
same thing. Yeah. But I know Wayne got some clarification from, and just before I turn it over to him, I mean, we know that most of what that increase is the additional staffing, because there's they increased the size of the number of judges from 4 to 5. But so we anticipated that budget going up, but we weren't exactly sure what it was inclusive of.
So the bottom line on that, on the circuit budget, we're going to see a net increase of $48,000.
Because, well, you take it from here, because I know you were talking to him as late as yesterday. So.
Yeah, the budget officer, Sergio Acevedo, he had emailed, and I guess through Will's discussion with him, he said, I understand your board has some concerns
I saw that email. Yeah.
about the increase, and
I include that in your package.
yeah, I told him that we were looking at all budgets, and though the board had made no official vote at this time, that we were concerned about the ones that increased. And he sent me back a little bit of a confusing email that he emailed me yesterday and said, I've been real busy this morning, but this afternoon I want to get you something to better explain that email. And it never came as of, a few minutes before I came in the meeting, so it came yesterday. So as far as we know, Jason and I talked about it, they're still requesting this, 201.
Yeah, and digging into that additional backup he sent, I mean, the best I can tell, I mean, it's all just our portion of the increase in personnel, straight up. So,
Including the supplement?
No, you mean a local supplement?
Yeah, because the question I had on that, it says, Fayette County Commissioners approved the local supplement.
43,000. They didn't go the requested. I think they requested 50. They
Right.
can. And I think they just approved 43.
43 is what's in there.
That's right. Yeah. The one thing I will add, and they did add some clarification, obviously Judge Miller now goes in as a Superior Court judge until such time as that position's filled and it's determined who funds it. He does come off the local payroll here. So this increase will be netted out by the fact that we're not supplementing his salary locally, but that I think will only last as long as we have a vacancy at judgeship. So there will be some savings in addition, but to the best I can tell, they've submitted, to the best of my ability, to determine the bare bones minimum to keep their operations running, considering that they added another judge. So.
Yeah, I would think surely I'll get an email from Sergio about it sometime today, and I'll give that to you guys.
And if there, obviously, if there was an opportunity to make an adjustment, we'll recommend that next week. But what you have in your packet is essentially where we are with it now. I just wanted to follow up with y'all because I know that was a big question mark when we left our budget discussion last time as far as the mid-years were concerned. Was there any other concerns about mid-years that you want to see before we present formally next week? If there are, you certainly can email us or
What about the Gilmore Center thing?
we have it at 0 right now. We would have to amend it if we.
There was a brief email and just saying, we sent you what we had before. But there weren't any, any additional details.
Well,
But, we could.
I encourage you to talk to counterpart in the city.
I have.
Feel, I'm sure you have. Figure that out. I don't know what's so hard about it. We're not asking for the moon.
No, just
For a
detail,
line item budget.
basic details.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on that?
No, sir.
All right. 2020 financials, May 2020 financials.
Wayne, do you mind just covering some of the revenue highlights? And is Commissioner Watson still on? Are you still with us, Commissioner Watson?
Ben, you still here?
I'm here.
Okay. I think if I remember right, Commissioner Watson had a question or two. The reason we put it on the work session is that they just weren't ready in time for your last meeting. But this will obviously give us a chance to discuss them at more length if you have any questions. But Wayne, if you would just cover some of the revenue highlights, and then we'll open it up.
Yeah, these are May statements. If you had looked at your previous one, it had a footnote that should have been on these, but was excluded. But one thing this will haunt us this year is that we received tax receipts in December of 2019. Andy brought them over, and we had to make a decision. Okay, we're in receipt of those funds, and our accounting principals will tell us that okay, you have them, so they should be recorded in December of 2019. In previous years, they were not recorded until they came over in January. So it's going to be kind of uncomparable in the tax revenues because there were major revenues that were recorded in 2019, and of course don't show as recorded in 2020. But then this is actually something that's compared to prior years, and in prior years, those would have been recorded in January.
What taxes are we talking about? Property tax?
Property taxes, yeah, and
That's not a big difference.
yeah, kind of a major difference that we'll show each time. I'll put that, make sure that footnote is back on there, future statements, so that we don't have to keep going over that. Other items of revenue are up. For example, the local option sales tax, which Jason and I have kind of worried about in the COVID crisis, but they're actually up compared to last year. So
Significantly.
Kind of go figure on that one. So you can kind of see item by item. Tax collector commissions are down, but I went back and looked there, and there's an adjustment that we need to make to correct next month.
What is that? Refresh my memory on that. What is that line item specific?
Most of it comes from the percentage we take off of the school board's collections for collecting their taxes. 2.5.
Okay. That's substantially low.
The senior center commissions and reimbursements are down some compared to where we were last year, but not necessarily compared to this point in years prior to last year. I'm not sure if that could be related to the COVID, but they are down. Probate court fines, and I have not had a chance to talk with Judge McCray, but they are showing down a good bit from last year and the previous year. That could be a timing issue.
And keep in mind, that's really a two-component issue. One was the delay in court proceedings, and then two would be the modified operations of the sheriff's office, minimizing contact with the general public during a health crisis. So
Not just the sheriff's office. I mean,
right, absolutely.
MCCD,
Yeah,
all of them.
and that's something you're finding that's common, and when I discuss with my colleagues in other jurisdictions, almost every law enforcement agency has taken that approach to, public safety, yes, but minimize contact. So I would expect that those would be down significantly when we finish the year. So.
But it's a chunk, but it's not
No.
a huge chunk. City reimbursements on joint projects. So year to date, we've not received any.
That's right. We got to continue to talk about that, but those were, in prior years, were coming, some direct receipts on that so-called central admin fee, that kind of thing. And now it's kind of included in the budget, so that when they reimburse monthly, it's already included in that. So, but it's not recorded in this line item.
So it's in that.
It's what?
So it's in a reduced. You have to remind me where because we changed the way we account for it based on the audit, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's in a reduced expense rather than a revenue.
It's in what it's already included in what they pay for each joint project and the percentage that they pay, because we had put that in the budget for the joint project. I do need to check on, since Chairman asked, on the IT services. Those should be billed quarter. I guess that's still going on. I guess we're.
Yeah, we renewed it, so.
Yeah, so it should be going on.
Increasing.
And see if there's an outstanding invoice that they haven't paid yet. So on that first page, executive summary is the revenues, and then the second page is departmental expenses. Through May of 2020, we're at like 42% of the year. So when we look at the departments that follow this, you can tell whether there's overall we were only spent like 40% of the budget. So we're slightly favorable, 2% in total. So you can probably tell more this year by going to the summary that's shown on page 1 of 2, revenue and expenditure statement, and then it has each department, and then to the right it says percent used. Well, we need to make sure we look at anything that would especially exceed 42%. And some of these do, but they're, I think, probably timing issues where they spent all of their budget earlier in the year and won't spend any the remainder. But overall, if you drop down to the bottom line, that there's 40, they've spent at a rate of 40%, so overall, it's slightly favorable to the budget through May.
Yeah, one thing that's gonna skew us is that reimbursement for damages, $469,000. That's gonna skew that bottom line for us as we look at that, so.
The only other thing I would add, Wayne, and I apologize to the board, and I don't know if I just missed it in the copy that I put, but don't we normally have a T-SPLOS reconciliation?
We have,
Specifically, I'm interested to know what's left in bond proceeds.
yeah, the T-SPLOS balance sheet is shown, and also a revenue statement. But the back of the very back of the report is only SPLOS reports for 2016, and so I can find that here. Let's see.
I just want to, before we, basically when we close out all the bond for, here we go. All right, I see it now.
Like on page 9 of 16, is that where you're at? Oh, that's one of them.
So that the bond, remaining in bond proceeds as of May 31 was 1.673 million?
Yeah.
Okay. Goes fast.
A lot of roads. Okay. And then, just on the very last page, 2016 SPLOST report. Just more of a statement, an observation than anything is I'd just like to remind everybody that we're keenly interested in any SPLOST expenditures that can come out of the 11 or the 16 SPLOST, and I thought we had a policy that we board was aware of any expenditures coming out of those. So, not to say that we would not approve them, but at least have some sort of situational awareness as to what it is. I mean, there's a couple big items on here. 2020, $55,600 for IT. Stuff adds up quick. It goes quick. I'm sure that was not one single purchase, but probably a culmination of a lot smaller purchases. And then vehicles.
I think it's a communication thing there. I think, we approve the budgets based upon some of these being SPLOST items. Maybe we just need to clarify the fact that the department heads, Jason, even though we approve the budget, we still reserve the right to approve that SPLOST expenditure. Has it ever been presented to you that way? No.
Unless it was in a competitive process where y'all award it.
Right. I think that's where the breakdown's at. I think that prior to,
It may go back prior to you.
Right.
Very early on, we reeled it all in. We said, look, we will maintain situational awareness of our position with SPLOST, and we wanted to be kept apprised and be able to approve SPLOST expenditures. Now, stuff that we approve as part of the general fund budget, that's, once we approve that, it's a done deal. As long as it's something that everything goes through a competitive bid process and it's in line with our procurement policy, and if it's in that general fund budget, then we're good.
and I think that these expenditures are exactly what you just said. Am I correct? They were part of the budget process. They were in their budget. And
I thought they were part of the general fund budget process. I think they were part of the
department
SPLOST input when they established what they needed for the 16 SPLOST. So I was
Yeah, they would submit a request for their operating budget, and then
We added we asked them to do capital requests separately, which were, yeah.
Some of those may be what's
Yeah.
in the splosh.
Yeah.
The only comment I would have is on the splosh, sometimes if they're doing a project, it might be an accumulation of smaller expenses.
It would be one single expense, yeah. Well, maybe one thing we can do to get, to bring more light on that is what we could do is just do a report, a year-to-date report on X specific. So if we have to go back and allocate it to a project, we can, just to show exactly what's been expended year-to-date.
By item.
Right.
Yeah, we can certainly give you what has already been expended, and then as far as if there's a policy going forward about.
Like if it was a, something that was presented and approved, like a refresh of, I'm trying to think of the IT example of so many computers, that would be multiple expenditures for one project.
Right, yeah. But also I think is as our responsibility is budgets is to know, if they come in, they submit the budget and they have splashes in the budget next year, it's difficult to track that by memory that, okay, and then they come back to you with the budget and when they present the budget this year, we really have to go back and research what we spent. And I like to know if somebody's coming and asking for something, I need to know what I've already given them. And for lack of a better word, it's a negotiation to if I'm giving you something, sure. With allocated dollars through SPOS to you. If you got 10 computers this year, I'm just using that as an example. Well, and you come back and you want 10 more next year, you only have 12 people in your department. Wait a minute. And I'm not saying that, I'm just using that as an example.
Right. Yeah.
But it's more or less about the dollar value of what that is, and I see there's ways to break it up so it doesn't ever have to come to us. I can get out, go under that threshold,
right?
And I would just like to see, even though we approve those dollars, you have to approve those dollars in the budget. But going back, let's say those
And
dollars.
they're also approved, of course, when the invoice comes through, that we usually have probably 2 signatures on that, but I guess as far as putting forward, we haven't done that this year.
Since I've been elected to this board, we've never purchased vehicles without this board seeing it. We just hadn't. Do y'all recall that?
Well, so to kind of get down to the bottom line on this is, we have, these are all estimates, and that's what we're working off of, collections and expenditures. But at the end of the day, it's nice to get all the projects accomplished and have, like in the 11 splosh, there's $1.8 million still sitting in the 11 splosh, but we know that that's going to a new roof.
Right.
Courthouse. And so, and we have more needs than we have listed on our splosh thing. And it's written so that we can, roads and bridges repair. We can accomplish a lot of the stuff that's on this list that we're mandated to accomplish, and then shift that money to road improvements. We can buy a lot more asphalt. I think that was our hope that we'd be able to. Jason, just for curiosity.
Yes.
Okay, so the 16 splosh, that's the year that we started collecting. 16. Right?
That would have been the year the voters approved it.
Okay, so we didn't start collecting until
when the previous one expired.
the 11. So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 are 5 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we collect.
So we're a 6-year.
Is it 6-year collections?
Because we have our intergovernmental agreement. We're a 6-year.
Okay, so 6 years. So the next one will be 2021 for 2022. So it'll be here before we know it. So adding another line to our dashboard, I know, that start working on the next rendition of the splosh.
Yeah, that's gonna be our real, I mean,
I know,
that's so critical to everything we do, especially
yeah,
in these times.
yeah.
But yes, so I understand and acknowledge the guy, so I think what we need to do is in the financials, let's include a summary that gets us year to date. And then even if the project is approved in concept when we present for 2021, we'll bring each of those items back for individual approval.
I mean, I don't think we want to know every time the road department has to go by.
But we will provide that in the data.
But if it makes a dollar amount threshold that would say it.
Right. Yeah, we can definitely do a better job, like giving the detail for that, and that won't be difficult at all. I say that, Wayne's not gonna go great.
No, we definitely can provide that.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Any other questions or comments regarding the 2020 financials, May 2020? Okay.
May I add one thing to the discussion, Mr. Chairman? What I included here too, the tax commissioner had sent these to me while I was out last week, but I included for our financial discussion our rollback calculations, what we call our PT 32s, because also at your next agenda, we will be respectfully asking y'all to set a tentative millage rate. Based on my analysis and Wayne's analysis, we're not obviously recommending a tax increase, so we'll be recommending the adoption of the rollback rate. And you've got the two rollback calculations for unincorporated and incorporated. So we'd be recommending we set it at 8.600, which if the unincorporated, let me make sure I'm looking at the correct one. The incorporated rate right now is 8.606, and the unincorporated, sorry, both of them are set at 8.990.
Right.
So we'd be rolling both of them back to 8.600. That would be the recommendation.
Now, will we see these for the other millage rates, the joint projects millage rate,
Yeah, remember we have that. This will be the third year we've had that discussion. We got guidance from DOR in writing through the tax commissioner's office last year, and then I got it independently. And they don't require this same process for that joint taxing district. So we would set it in August, but we don't advertise it. So we do the tentative rate. So that's y'all communicating to the tax commissioner what rate to advertise, then he'll do the advertising.
just on the unincorporated and incorporated?
Yeah, because the special taxing district doesn't have to be advertised. So,
Really? What about school tax?
yes, so he'll be working with them to do the same.
They don't?
They'll set their own tentative millage rate, and then y'all will approve it all in August.
Okay.
So basically what we're going to do is ask y'all to approve a rate for him to advertise on your behalf.
What's the deadline to do that?
The deadline to set a rate?
To advertise?
It's August 31, right? We have to have it in by?
That's my understanding.
Yeah, August 31. We had the whole process wrapped up by August 31. And the tax assessor's office just transmitted the draft digest over to the tax commissioner's office a few days ago. So we're actually ahead of where we were last year. So, and just to clarify again, if we advertise the rollback rate, you're basically saying you can do that or less. You just can't go more,
Right.
Or you have to re-advertise.
Okay. Any concerns about moving forward with the rollback rate?
And is this taking, well, I'm sure it's taking the
actually what
It's excluding the appeals.
correct. So the list of appeals, the chairman will have to acknowledge that list when the Board of Assessors approves it at their next meeting. So you'll have a detailed list of all of what those appeals are.
So should we not at least have we still will have a number to tax?
Because you'll be well into your tax season before those appeals are settled.
So if 20% of the taxpayers appeal there, I mean, that could have an impact.
It could, but I think it's less than, it's like 0.3% or under appeal.
3%.
I think, well, that was less than 1%. Yeah.
I know,
It's
it's about 10 pages of it.
10 pages, a lot of small stuff.
Yeah. So,
And that list is available, as soon as the tax assessor's office approves it, we can get y'all copies of it.
yeah,
But that's
a
a
copy when I go over there and sign it so they can transmit everything to DOR. Copy it.
So thinking ahead, obviously, if you adopt the rollback rate, it's, you advertise and then you have one public hearing. So we could do that public hearing during a regular meeting. We wouldn't need to have a call meeting.
The uncertainty though is July, and as we just went through our financials, we've got a lot of unknowns between now and December 31st as far as revenue. Fortunately, we have
Financial health.
we're in good shape with our fund balance reserves. So it may not be this year. Next year may be the tough year. Is that a good summation?
Yeah, I would put it this way. I think that we have to be very careful about the budget we adopt for 2021.
And just remind everybody that, in the budget, in your request, everybody, for the budget submissions, you're asking for a 5% reduction across the board.
Yeah, and we also communicated that to the city staff that we had asked the joint project departments to do the same thing.
Right. And there's,
Well, we term across the board, as far as what went out of the budget instructions, it was.
Well, obviously, yeah, we're not asking them to cut their salaries 5%.
right,
We're
that was
asking-
going to be my next point to make. I mean, we're not asking for, we're still sticking with our pay comp plan.
Right.
But we're asking them to look more other areas.
But as you'll see, as we get further on in the process, we'll be presenting the board a budget that probably is going to be inclusive of strategies like leaving vacant positions unfilled and other things that will help us get an additional percentage back. So we're already talking to some of those departments of how we can make that happen. Because I think every leader in the county is keenly interested in making sure we're able to fund the basics, and the basics are salaries without furloughs. And to me, that's the big thing. If we could avoid budgeted or planned furloughs for 2021, that would be the best way to go. Doesn't mean you won't have to do them, because you may get halfway through 2021 and this lean budget you put together may not have been lean enough, and you still may have to explore those things. Because as
We have two choices.
Yeah, right.
You dig into your reserves, and we have a.
or you do both,
We
you
have
do
an
any combination of it.
increase in 2021 millage, and that's not something we.
So we'll put a good plan together for 2021, throughout the second half of this year, and we'll do what we're doing this year.
I think it's key that as departments come forward with their budgets, that we have that information that you shared with me, that Cherie had put together as far as staffing levels, trends that we see, because we know that we've invested in technology that is supposed to have streamlined processes and should have taken some of the manpower, shifted manpower to technology. We've not attrited anyone because their job has been replaced, but through attrition, if there's an opportunity to, if someone goes out the door and retires, then efficiencies in place, then that's what we need to capitalize on it. And that report that Sheree put together it's pretty, it's a good tool. It's going to be a good tool for us to use as we consider budgets going forward and as we look at
Yeah, but obviously the other guys we gave them is don't come to us with position requests because they won't be approved. So.
Yeah, I mean, we can't have a cake.
So they won't get through me to y'all. So Wayne and I will have our first crack at it, and then on the joint projects, we'll do that jointly with city staff, and then hopefully present y'all something that's close to where you're going to be comfortable.
And and while we're having a philosophical discussion about budget too, is we know that there are some things that we've got to find a way to fund. We can't just say all stop. There are some things that we need to continue to lean forward on, and it may be easy to if one department's got a budget and says, okay, well, we're just not going to do this year. Well, it may be a key function that we need for growth and prosperity in our community, and so eliminating a line item that basically says, okay, we're just going to stop doing that this year. It may be more costly not to do it than it would be to find the money to fund it and do it. Yeah. We have that conversation all the time about
We just got
Coca-Cola stock.
the flood that we know no one has. We got to take out the flood.
Yeah. Who were the smartest people in the 1920s? The people that bought Coca-Cola stock when there was no way to buy it. They secured their economic prosperity for generations. So now's the time to find those Coca-Cola stocks, those investments in our community, and make it happen because.
And getting back to that discussion about capital, it's lost more than ever. Those investments need to be targeted in reducing your operating costs.
Yeah, Jason and I'm sure you probably had that conversation with others. That the one true way that we can control is people and vehicles. So
Well, people is that's pretty much what our budget is. So.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you took our entire $17 million general fund budget, I mean,
Personnel related, probably 10 million, if you throw in the insurance and pension, and probably more than that actually. I'm just roughing it.
yeah,
Speaking of insurance and pension, that's going to put pressure on our 2021 budget compared to we've got to put in for those two items.
yeah, okay. Any other comments about financials? All right, sounds like a plan.
Step out, put it in a second, and I'll be right back. Keep on going.
I lost my agenda. It's in there somewhere. Here it is. All right. Review of fiscal sustainability measures.
So all I did was include the list that I had put on your consent agenda for a previous meeting. But I bring it up because our fiscal sustainability measure resolution is expiring on the 28th. So probably at the second meeting in July, I'd be asking the board to renew that for another 90 days. And then I wanted to talk about really, well, I mean, to be fair, 2 projects that are on that list. Because I have the one project that I think that we probably need to release is the right-of-way project for the water and sewer department.
It's way overdue. It's not getting better.
So, other than that, unless the board sees anything else on this list that you feel like this needs to be done, and the reason I say that is that, our enterprise fund is in pretty good shape, and that's where that project will be funded. It won't be a SPOS funded project, it'll be an enterprise fund funded project. There's room in their budget to do it. They've got it budgeted to do it. our revenue is not suffering in any major way there. We have a nice, healthy fund balance in that enterprise fund, so my inclination is to go ahead and get that project done, but leave everything else frozen.
What about, I mean, most of these on here are splosh funded projects, right? Recreation pool building roof. I mean, is it, I mean, I know we're not using the pool right now, but is buildings not suffering any damage from a roof leak? Is it? I mean, it's $19,000.
The roof leaks.
Yeah, it's a nominal building. So, I mean, is there Squirrel Bluff maintenance building, and there's an equipment item on here. How are they mowing the grass down there now? Do you know? I mean,
It's getting mowed.
well, and we're very happy. It looks good. So
The staff is totally understanding of these measures, and they had a lot of input in these too. So I mean, and I know we have, this is really only the ones that we had started and asked to freeze. I mean, there's others that are in the budget pipeline, and I may add those so you can see what those are that we've told Wayne staff to not even go forward with the purchasing process on. So we basically put a halt on other things that are budgeted, but these are the ones that we started and recommended not following through with.
We got several, right? I mean, for example, I guess now's a good time to bring it up. I mean, Thurston Well project. I mean, that just kind of died for lack of a better say.
So we're taking the if we can get it grant funded, we're going to do it approach. So we're at the regional commission is going to write us a grant proposal for a CDBG submission. So we will be working on that, and then hopefully we can. What we're going to ask in that submission, and that submission will go in April next year, but we're going to do, and the engineering, we're going to provide as the in-kind match for that, and then ask the federal government to fund that project. So actually, they feel pretty good about that project. Were you on the kickoff call, Alex?
So I guess, where we're at in that process.
So we've signed a letter of intent to have them write the grant, and we've had a kickoff meeting. That will get submitted April next year. So right now, we're limping along with the well the way it is now, and in emergency cases, we're buying water from the city.
Did we just miss a deadline this year or something, or just how it falls?
No.
So
We had it in our work plan to submit for the April 21 round.
Okay.
Yep.
okay.
Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't the money to do the Thurston Well project in the 2011 spot?
16.
Is it in the 16?
It is.
Oh.
Yeah.
2011 was a water tower well they fell apart.
Well, let's see. Water department repairs and replace equipment in Lincoln Park water tank. It's like $865,000 between those, and then,
There was a Thurston Well project. I think there was like 400 something thousand.
Lincoln, let's see, well, in the 11 splosh, there was a water and sewer improvements, Hickory Ridge, Lincoln Park well, water department equipment. So, and see,
It was in there. If there was a line item, Thurston Well project, 400 something $1,000. I remember it. You remember it, James?
Yeah, I think it's in 2016.
says water department repairs and Lincoln Park water tank,
Is that 2016 or 2011?
16.
Did they not, did Garrett tell they weren't gonna move through the Lincoln Park improvements? Maybe they moved it to the Thurston.
Well, it's just how it's listed based on the way the verbiage was in the splosh
I
referendum.
would agree to reallocate.
Yeah.
So if you you actually go to the referendum itself,
Yeah, just,
none of this detail exists in the actual referendum. So you could combine all these and call them water projects as far as what the voters approved. I think that this maybe commission and staff some years ago, maybe when the SPLOST was first adopted, this is how they decided they were going to initially try to tackle it.
yeah.
Yeah. But you're not bound to this list. Many of the projects were pretty vague in the 16.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're keeping the grass mowed at the bluff. If we need a tractor, let's don't hold off on getting a tractor or even the maintenance building for that matter.
Well, my hope is that given 3 more months and everything is looking okay, then we can release the rest of those.
It's more, it's splosh money. It's more of a symbolic gesture. Is that a good way of saying it? We know we have splosh money. That's not going to change. Or is there some other reluctance for you to go forward with some of these splosh projects during this time?
Well, I mean, when we put a halt on all projects and we included in that resolution SPLOST, I mean, our thought, we were preparing for what could be either nothing or the apocalypse or anywhere in between. So, we took a very conservative approach when we wrote that, and our thought was the SPLOST dollars are finite, so they go away.
Yeah.
And there's no possibility to reallocate them if we continually spend them. But no, I mean, but your point's taken. I mean, yeah, that money is sitting in an account, and we're not waiting to raise it. It does exist. It could be.
It just can be allocated a different way.
Right. Mm-hmm.
If another pot of money dries
If our
up.
well failed.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it. Like I said, I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
in some cases, Paul and them aren't down there trying to mow the grass at the bluff with 20-inch push mowers.
I doubt that.
Yeah, I don't think he can pass Paul. He's going to get it done.
Well, I just, really quick on the bluff thing, I think for the maintenance building, I'm for the maintenance building, but I think until we get a consensus of what we want to do down there, I think it'd be irresponsible to just go down there and block the building right here. Oh, man, I wish we had put that building here.
That's right.
Yeah. And when it comes to that other stuff too, I mean, when in times like this, my approach, and we'll change the approach if the board would rather see another approach, but the approach that Wayne and I are taking is that let us come to you and say, Wayne's comfortable, I'm comfortable. Now we're asking y'all if you're comfortable, and then we go again. So.
I'm good with that.
Just it don't go right.
Anyway, y'all are the ultimate.
Wants to blame.
No, the ones that provide the ultimate oversight. So during these kinds of uncertain times, we may get to the point where we're recommending something and y'all are still not there yet, and we'll understand that. So,
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate the fact that we push y'all and y'all push us. That's how we get things done. And we're going to talk about some more of that here in just a little bit. All right. Do we want to jump down to Alex? INF? Is that okay with you, Jason?
yes, absolutely.
Update on T-Splosh Phase 2 project?
All right, in the last week, we were 80% complete with the road design drawings and budgets and bid documents. We got 1 or 2 roads left on the design finish. We should be QCing and finalizing all the bid documents in the next week is the current schedule. We do have a couple updates and changes that we made since our last session. We all kind of approved the list of roads. Welcome Church Loop. We had talked about taking off, but we are going to recommend crack sealing and seal coating that road.
road was that?
Welcome Church Loop is called, it's officially like old US 19.
Welcome Road, Church Road.
Yeah, yeah. What we presented last month, we had kind of grayed that one out, but we are going to do some minor improvements to that. Other ones we discussed taking off for Kendall Drive, which the county was going to talk about doing that. It's like a pay-as-you-go in-house. New Harmony Church Road, we recommended amending just due to condition and budget and priority-wise. And Coptown Road was based on condition and traffic flow. Those were the three that we took out of the kind of master list that we created. So just need to make sure that y'all are still on board with taking those out. Night Trail, we're just going to do a cracked ceiling. The asphalt there is good. They're just having a lot of joint issues that can be remedied a lot cheaper than going in and trying to resurface it. So that's something that's different.
So you're gonna crack seal it and then seal the whole thing on top of it, or just
No, just
like
cracks.
the snakes in the road?
Really, there's not that many snakes. It's mostly at the joints where they pave those lanes. I don't know if you've been down recently, there's grass going up down the center of the road. You know, and the joints just weren't done properly and they just broke apart. So they're going to blow those out, clean out and get all the loose stuff, and then they'll seal it. That's our recommendation. Which would be, I think it's got a lot of life left in it. I think there may be one or two spots they're looking at maybe doing like patch or something, but very minimal compared to other things we're looking at. Scroll Up Road, we're only going to restripe it versus doing any kind of improvement or crack seal. It's based on the assessment of the road condition. We also recommend striping a lot of the side roads along these roads that we are resurfacing. I'd say 60% of them, have no striping that's visible. We can get the little short side roads mostly, but we are recommending we maybe allocate $150,000 to $200,000 to restriping side roads along these main drags that we're going to be redoing. There's some cost benefit there. It's a little short road. They're already restriping the main road. It will help you get better. Unit price is kind of low hanging fruit that we can knock out while we're in the area. I think that was all the changes from what we submitted last time. Do you have any questions or comments on those changes?
I just have a question. You mentioned some of the restriping. I think that's a good idea. But some of the negative impacts of restriping is the impact that it had on Picker Road, which we're redoing now. It actually narrowed that road, making it difficult to drive on. Are we ensuring that when we strike these secondary roads off the main roads we're paving, that they're all roads are not the same width, so
Yep.
that we're not creating a hazard. One hazard mitigates another hazard.
A good example is Kendall Road, not Kendall Drive, was on the restripe for this one. We did not do the sidelines because it would have made it too narrow. The edges were kind of broken. It's already really narrow road.
So y'all are taking that into consideration? Yes, that's my question.
Some of the blowback, I think we might get on some of that though, is, we go out there and we go down the road and we resurface the road, resurface it, restripe it, and then we run down this road over here and just put some striping on there, and somebody's gonna come back and say, well, why did, all y'all did was put paint lines, or resurface my road. We just need to be aware of it, and we'll probably hear some of that. But
The fact remains is that we can't pave all roads.
can't pay all overnight. That's it.
One day.
And I also don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
One day.
Chairman, let me ask two items. One, would you mind providing that in just, it can be any kind of report you want, even if it's just an email, so we can update the commissioners list based on the changes you just had. That way y'all have a quick reference to everything you
Yeah,
said.
we've got, I need to clean up spreadsheet a little bit, it's messy at the moment.
Okay.
I'll send it out. We also added in east, that section, the East Orange Crossing, which we talked about, we shall didn't officially see it on the list.
So it's gonna, so this one, this revised list you have, it's got all the information, length,
Type of
the surface
material.
type that's on it now, what it's gonna end up, what we're gonna replace it with, if it's surface treatment, or we're gonna go back with surface treatment or whatever. Okay. We,
Can I ask you, sure, you know, some of these roads, I know we have sort of approved, sort of by our suggestion and y'all's recommendation, you know, I don't know which led that decision, but, of surface treatment, will there be a situation where we could actually have it done cheaper by asphalt than surface treatment? Just for the simple fact of the setup, and I think I know the correct answer to that, but I just want to be sure.
A good example may be Applewood Lane that we went and looked at. First 10th of a mile of that is just kind of falling apart, and the rest of it was paved at a later date. It's surface treatment. We're going to be right there on Thompson Road doing asphalt. That might be a road we want to ask them to submit, you know, a line item for surface treatment versus asphalt, because if they make that correlation to, if we're not doing any more surface treatment out there, it's a very small amount that to switch operations.
Right.
It may be an opportunity.
A lot of times it could be a totally separate contractor, right?
I mean, it'll all be under one general contractor, but they may slow down like striping or shoulder.
Right.
Well, I don't know that Applewood Lane thing would be a surface treatment, because with the erosion of the road,
We'd have to level it, but then you can still come back on top of it if you're leveling with the surface treatment versus.
he's gonna level it with asphalt, right?
It is.
so,
We can get those, I was just suggesting, that me and Chris were talking about us having that as like we had some alternates in our last round, you know, just so y'all can compare, you know, how much you might save by doing surface treatment on this particular road.
Well, you know, I think the main thing was the long roads like Willis Road, you know, the money we saved on the length of that road, you know, when you get down to short roads, it may not be worth it, 'cause, you know, but, you know, the length of Willis Road is 5 miles or something.
Yeah.
You know, we saved a pretty good bit of money just by, it's already surface treatment, just resurface treatment, you know.
you know, I got one issue I want to put to rest one last time on this. So there's been some back and forth a little bit, especially between me and Jason on this, since you're here. One contract to have all these done versus 2 contracts, 1 asphalt, 1 surface treatment.
And you're in that economy of scale, I think they're all, you know, CW Matthews and Robson are set up to do both of them. It's not,
But I guess my point is, one of those large asphalt companies that are just gonna go sub out Willis Road, and then, you know, we could have went and hired that sub on a separate contract to do their road and save money, or are we gonna pay, Matthews or Robbins or whoever that may be to mark it up, to cover their costs, to oversee something where we could have went directly to a surface treatment type company to do it. So,
I'll make a phone call, see what their approach would be.
We already had this conversation with Chris. And Chris, you know, his professional recommendation was not to split them, but he basically said, well, we'll split them if you want to see it both ways, to see if it would generate interest. Which, as you can probably tell, we're leaning that way, if that helps.
well, I'm actually on the fence. I go either way, as long as somebody can show me that, you know, we're just not paying somebody to oversee a subcontractor that just because they got they got the big contract. You know, it may, at the end of the day, be more cost effective to do that. You know, I
What's
don't
more
know.
options?
Yeah, give us,
There's probably gonna be a lot of patching on most of those roads too, so I mean,
asphalt.
yes,
or-
CWO would do the asphalt patch on the surface treatment roads. But, yeah, we can
How
explore that.
soon are we gonna have this done?
$1 million question. Chris told me 2 weeks, it should all be QC'd and finished and ready to go. So we can
Y'all,
start advertising.
y'all advertise it in 2 weeks. 30 days, is that what it is? 30-day advertising window?
Yeah, I think it's
Yes.
4 weeks. And
So,
then
so
we'll have
we're
a free
45 days now,
It's gotta go in the procurement registry.
July, mid-August. When are we looking to have the contract to award? First meeting in September?
Just quick math, but yeah.
I'm not, this is not binding here. I'm trying to give myself a target. So we award a contract in September. When do we award the last one?
I think it's September.
Yeah, so so we could actually see some asphalt, some surface treatment going down.
Hopefully we get all the rain out of the way early in the year this time, so maybe it'll be dry.
And just one more item before we move on, if it's okay. For the rest of the board, the city's about ready to let a resurfacing contract with their UCBOC funds. So we let them know what our schedule was, and, we're committed to this schedule and not modifying it. But if they get ready in time, we're gonna try to let them together.
Don't let them hold us back. I mean, a week or two maybe was one thing, but
Yeah.
we
And I don't know if you've heard from Trey or anybody at their shop yet or not, but I don't know if and when they'll be ready, but we'll double check with them, and if they're not ready, we'll go.
and on Willis Road, I'm gonna reach out to Commissioner Glass and let them know that we're gonna be resurfacing that road, because what do they got, about a quarter of a mile of road there that, I don't know if they're just gonna let it keep going the way it's going, or
They will.
or if they wanna take advantage of an opportunity to piggyback with us, if they're gonna be out there doing it, go ahead, doing that last quarter mile.
Percentage, yeah.
Let me ask something while we're right here. Can we move ahead to 2021 road project and get it started in the summertime? Instead of waiting until school's back in and the roads are being, closed and everything else? And is there a way to do that where we can jump ahead to 2021 and project what we're gonna do?
Start phase 3.
Yeah, start phase 3
With a target.
earlier in the year
A
than
target.
September?
Yeah, we
Commissioner Wilder promised me to start phase 3 yesterday. And so I've already got a couple.
So instead of September, doing a contract award, we can start phase 3, start planning now and get that done in April, May timeframe, so that,
With that being said, if you have, like Commissioner Wilder and I went and looked at a couple of roads in his district, if you have already some ideas of roads we want to look at for phase 3, once we know the contract amount, then we can tell you what the phase 3 amount will be. So, yeah, there's no reason why we couldn't get
I
that
think
started.
maybe our next work session, that we need to probably set aside about a half hour. So that our homework assignment is to go out and take a look at the road assessment list that.
And if you want to ride with staff, whether it's me or James or anybody else or Alex, we can schedule that too. So,
let's plan the next work session, about 30-minute discussion about phase 3 projects, so that we can get that ball rolling, if that's okay.
the closeout phase.
It's always road paving. We've got 16 splosh money.
I'm talking about our T slot,
I know.
which is unbelievable to think about.
Yeah, okay.
As you did, I think the board does need to take a little bit of credit for, I mean, if you just back up that timeline, I mean, there's not a lot of organizations that do it as well as we did, as quickly as we did. So I think we probably don't take enough time to toot our own horn, but I think we've gotten a lot of quality work done in a very short period of time.
Is all the striking done on phase one?
It's not.
Lot of town.
It's probably 80% done, it's okay, so.
Somebody asked me about
Out
lot
toward
of
the still not finished.
Okay. And when we do phase three, you know, Paul, you and I need to reach out to our friends up here in Yatesville and see if we can encourage them to participate if they, because we know they have needs, and it'd be a great opportunity for them to join us for phase three, get some of their road servicing done. You got some of it too, there in Yatesville. But they've got LB money they're leaving on the table. Yes, sir. Just an FYI, I signed a letter to send over to DOT to ask them to see if there's some assistance they can provide us with that Pobiti bridge, that deal. I sent that over, and I'll follow that up with a phone call.
Amanda should have sent you a copy of what you said, so you can do it by email too.
Thank you. And if we know that, you know, probably at our next meeting, Jason, to give you time, Alex time to talk about Hannahsville Road, bridge.
Actually, I was going to have them.
Go ahead, do it. Talk about it now? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm probably not as up to date on it, but I know we were talking about getting costs for replacing it versus doing the maintenance, right?
We just got another letter reducing, lowering the limit to 5 tons. So in the last,
They sent some divers down a few months ago to inspect the footings, and apparently they've continued to deteriorate.
And I think Chris has reached out to a vendor, and there's some other vendors that I've used in Atlanta that we'll reach out to try to get up. Just based on the span and height and width, they can give you a pretty rough. It's a rough estimate.
They recommend
Give you a
it.
magnitude.
At the bridge, they recommend changing the load limit, lowering the tonnage limit on that road, on that bridge.
We did it recently, and we're having to do it again.
Again, right.
Yeah, right.
we went from, was it 2 years ago, it was a 9-ton limit?
Now we're down to 5.
Now we're down to 5. And then if you look at the location of that bridge, and then the planned bridge project on Jeff Davis, everything, this could be complicated.
Yeah.
Quick question while we're on that. I noticed that the state, they do all their bridge projects design build.
So, the procurement issues. You talking about they just design themselves and
They've bid them out in big batches. You know, it seems like they do 10, 12 at a time, and they do them in like just lump sum design build for 10, 12 projects.
yeah, I've never really paid attention to how they budget them.
I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
is there, what the advantages and disadvantages
On
are?
a bridge like that, Contact is a good company that I would reach out to that, I mentioned Chris, that they do kind of pre-engineered span structure, and they help you with the design build process because you're going to use them to install the bridge, so you don't ends up, lumping it all together with the same company that's doing the design building there.
Right, yeah.
It's a lot smoother, and they're designing it for free because you're using their bridge.
Yeah, but I can track
Battery.
He's traveling back roads to Athens, so he dropped a call. They've been trying to dial back in. So, all right. So next work session, we'll talk about T-Splosh Phase 3. Mid-September, we expect to see contract for Phase 2. And we'll work on this Hannah Mill Bridge. Update on shop building.
The design drawings are 100% complete. We're working on the bid package and advertisement stuff to send to be approved, start advertising. So I think we definitely get to advertise it now, this week.
It's advertised for 30 days as well.
Yeah, 4 weeks.
What's the recommendation on that thing? Is it reskinning it or
So
just
pretty
tearing it down
much,
and doing it
the
again?
scope of it, I'm not an architect, but from looking at it, the main steel structure is fine. Just needs to be repainted, so that's the sandblasted, repainted. The purlings for 2/3 of the building have to be replaced, kind of like cross members between the big steel columns. The roof is being replaced, the skin is being replaced, all the installations being replaced, all the gas lines are being replaced, all the electrical is being replaced, all your water lines are being replaced. Some of the wood, offices and rooms still left. A lot of that paneling ceiling has to be replaced. Restroom fixtures and things like that are all being replaced. A lot of minor stuff at the inside, it is going to have to be sprinkled, based on new standards. We have to install a dry sprinkler system, fire service line. They're going to put a little bit of a concrete apron around it, so it's not just dirt to concrete.
Let me ask this question. We get any more money out of the insurance company when a tornado come and rip the awning off of it?
No.
Should
And
have.
it's still late now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would probably assume that it's going to cost more than what the insurance paid out, would be my guess. I don't have a number.
We won't know until the bids come back, so.
Next week.
I think, total, I think if we're saying the project budget is what we recovered in insurance claim proceeds, I think it's like roughly $475.
Don't look like a new build, for sure.
It will be. I talked to James Melton yesterday, and he said, I probably shouldn't say this, but anyway, he's concerned about the fuel truck and having a place to park yet outside the building. Negligible cost to get one of those metal structures out there that we can be parked away from the building but still protected from the elements.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I don't think we get explained to the insurance company again.
No, we don't need to repeat.
But what is going to drive the cost is obviously the fire suppression system. Obviously, we're not going to rebuild the building without a fire suppression system, and that's very expensive.
Is that code though?
It is code.
Does that
Commercial building that size requires
is it more than 12,000 square foot?
But it's a drive system.
it is, so it'll have like a tank and pump. I think it's just it's all dry, but it'll trigger it and it'll pressurize the lines.
Yeah, it'll flood it.
Yeah, it'll flood it.
Okay.
What is the square footage on that? I'm just curious because I'm going through a design project like this right now. And
I think maybe 10,000 square feet.
12,000.
Is it 12,000?
12,000 square foot.
Todd told me.
As long as I didn't exceed 12,000 square foot, I was not required.
Todd told me. I can't remember. I knew that.
Okay.
But yeah, that is ready to go. We just have to get the advertisement document to y'all to advertise.
We would love to get that Friday.
All right. Well, one last thing on our agenda is we're going to talk to you guys about assignment of long-term projects. Did you have to print out a new dashboard? If you didn't, that's fine.
No.
So Jason and I were talking, I think it was Monday. He was updating our dashboard, the list that we use to hold ourselves accountable on all these projects that we're working on, our goals and our priorities. And he was letting me know that the list is not getting any shorter. He was adding stuff to it. So one of the things that we know that we've got some big ticket items that we really we need to keep pushing on. And I think that we can, as a board, we can step in and help staff on driving some of this and help ourselves if we divide and conquer some of this stuff. Because, 5 of us trying to tackle everything is one way of doing it, but if 5 of us, and including Wayne and Jason and Jessica, you know, that's 8 of us. If we all kind of took a project and kind of said, okay, that's going to be my, lack of a better term, pet project for right now. I'm going to spend most of my attention on this one. I'm not saying you take responsibility for it. You just become the
Motivator.
Motivator. That's a good term. I like it. We'll call it. We motivator for that project. So you know, and some of this stuff, it goes back to our joint meeting with the city that we had in January, where we set down on some goals and objectives. And so I would just like to ask you guys if there's something that you know that's on our list that you kind of have a passion for, or you want to help drive it to fruition, that you guys kind of take it on board and make it happen. I mean, so for instance, y'all know economic development is kind of my passion. It's all of our passions. So, you know, and that was one of the big priorities with the joint project with the city. So, you know, I was going to kind of let that be my focus. I talked to Commissioner Watson a little bit the other day. One of the goals on our list, long-term goal, is addressing our court needs, and I think he agreed. He's agreed to kind of head that one up. So I guess what I ask you guys is there something that's on our list that you wouldn't mind being the motivator until we come up with a better term for it? Is there something that you would like to tackle?
How about sending me a new copy of that list?
Yeah, I think we all, I would do that too.
Yeah, I think the last time we adopted it, we edited it, I can send you the January copy, but we've sort of informally added about 12 items to it. January now.
There's some codes.
And I'm working on getting y'all an updated list so we can reapprove it.
There's some code issues on there. I mean, we've had discussions about land use.
There's 5 different land use items on there.
Yeah. And you know.
6 now.
Yeah.
That's discussed before the.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right, if y'all want to hold off, I mean, until you get an updated copy of the list and then get back with me.
Yeah, that'd be good. And I can literally send that out as soon as we leave, because what I did not fill in were days and responsibilities, because I just hadn't had the time to try to remap it out from an achievable standpoint.
I think that one of them, I think there's only one left. Well, I mean, we could go back and look at
There's a few. I mean,
joint projects.
One
Meeting, not joint project, the joint meeting. I mean, that's really one that we kind of need to.
I would classify that one as service delivery overall.
Well,
Having specifically having staff have, you know, one go-to policymaker that stays in touch with the service delivery stuff. Since there's a lot in the pipeline right now. We're working on 2 or 3 different agreements. And
right.
So service delivery was a big one. Land use was a big one, and basically like closing out all of our bluff projects was a big one.
Well,
That's what I had on my list.
Why don't we'll put your court?
I'm not assigning my boss to do anything.
I'm not saying you do. Just say, hey, here are my recommendations on some things that I think that, you know, having some commissioner assistance.
Attention units,
Yeah, that's the best term.
I would without discussing it all with my fellow commissioners, I would like to recommend that we for example, some of the land uses, I would like to team up with actually Commissioner Jones and try to tackle some of that. And I would like to tackle some of the bluff issues or projects, and ask Commissioner Wilder if he would assist me with that. If there's no objections from the commissioner.
Okay, that's great.
And having someone that had been serve on the planning commission, I think would be great. Because there's and we also had, yeah, right, exactly. And we also have that intern with us now. We really need to take advantage of that.
And I just think, with my experience and his experience on the planning commission, that we do that and driving the Bluff project, Commissioner Watson obviously take on a backpack that I hope he can tow. And Chairman Allen's got
Well, and there's some of the service delivery stuff ties to this economic development.
Right.
In fact, just before this meeting, I was upstairs and Jason, I asked Russell, I said, when are we going to have something for wastewater service delivery? He told me a week. He got it their turn.
So we took that basic framework that we were working from right before we went to our joint retreat.
Okay, so that's got us all.
that's not all the list, but I just,
No.
and it just require us, communicating with the planning commission and committee.
Yeah. I mean, just having that, I think would be really outstanding. So.
Well, Jessica, I'm not done. I got one for Jessica. Yeah, you. Hope
Oh, boy.
Hope you're feeling
What is
well.
it?
I hope you're feeling well.
I am.
You ready for this? I really would like to see us tackle automating our minutes and agendas to where we can do keyword searches. I mean, I feel like a lot of times I kind of challenge you and Amanda and everybody else to go find a document. But if I had a way that I could do a keyword search, I could search our minutes and find something that may have happened 3 or 4 years ago a little bit easier. So if there's technology out there, or something that we could migrate to or incorporate in how we do it, I just ask you to kind of see what's out there and something to help you help us. Are you okay with that?
I can handle that.
I know you can. All right.
And I'll just also include that in the update to the dashboard. I'll just add that as a project. That should get us over 60.
We need you to help get some of the stuff off the list.
And we realize that we were adding stuff, but it's just the process of how we chose to do things, is to add to the list. And things come up.
That's right.
And priorities change, and we just need.
Yeah,
We probably need to really take a good look at the list and say, okay, what has changed since we made this list? And is this really, and things may need to move up and move down?
Yeah, and that's
Change due dates.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get a real good, realistic priority on some.
Right.
Some of them we really do need to finish.
Right.
Others may not be economically feasible.
That's right.
So.
Things impact.
We did that almost a year ago, or it was a year ago.
Actually, the last revision we did was January, so
We actually started this thing.
over a year ago.
Yeah.
The good news is we've accomplished a great many of those things.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I mention the
Yeah.
language issue?
Right.
And I think this has impacted most of the commissioners at some point, but I'm fortunate enough to have about 82% of Flint River frontage in my district. Commissioner Wilder retains the rest in his district. And then also, most of those owners that reside on that river or reside somewhere else in one of the other commissioners' districts. And consistently, many times a year, I'm faced with landowners contacting me about, the zoning and the restrictions along the Flint River. And, we have made some changes that has impacted that, and it's unintended consequences, when you got a great idea, but no, we didn't think about that, but it's too late, we've already made that. But I guess to sum all that up is I feel like we really need to take a look at it. This is my opinion, I don't know what the board feels about this,
really need to take a look at some of our riverfront lots, because there's some large land acreage, and that's not where the issue is. It's where these people own 1, 2, 3, 5 acres along the river on these narrow lots. And 90% of it is in a flood zone. And, you know, we got a minimum square footage that's got to be built on these. It's 1,050, 1,080. And a lot of people, you know, 1,080 square foot doesn't sound like a lot, but, you know, a little over $100 a square foot. Quick math tells you, you're going to make a pretty significant investment on something you probably can't get insured. And if you do, your insurance is going to cost as much as your mortgage payment is. So, all that being said is I think we need to look at some type of recreation, you know, and I'm looking for guidance, and I'm going to go to Doug and the planning commission, is, you know, some type of recreational zoning. I mean, and I don't know that that's the right name for it, or if that's possible, but we just really need to, I think we need to take a look at this. I know Commissioner Wilder's got calls, I've got calls, most of us have gotten calls about this, and, you know, these people are wanting to do stuff and on the property that they own, and for so many years, even though zoning's been around a while in Upton County, we all know if you float the river or spend any time on the river, there's things down on the river that does not meet our current requirements under zoning, since zoning existed, and they've taken place since zoning has existed. Most of it's rule we can't, you know, private access in and out of. It's not like a street drives by and you can see it. But I think we need to come up with something so we have some consistency on what's going on the Flint. And I do consider most of these as recreational areas. You know, especially when there's private access to most of these. And we all know that I only know of one road that you can drive down, County Road, and actually see the Flint River from that private road unless you cross the bridge. So I'm going to challenge this board and the planning commission to come up with something that we can, you know, if we come up and say, hey, you got to have 800 square foot or 750 square foot, you know, something that the people are not, that they have usable land. Because under our ordinances, if they own 2 acres on a river lot, it's probably still AR. Okay, and then that means they can't leave the camper there and all that. And I just think we need to address that, or if they want to build a small cabin there, 700 foot cabin, you know, and as I talk to these people, I say, look, you know, ordinance says you got to build 1,000 plus. You know, they're like, well, you know, if I wanted to live there, it'd be one thing, but I'm using this for recreational camping, but I want to have a structure, a permanent structure. So I think there's a way to accomplish that. I don't know if y'all agree with me on that, but I think we need to look into it. Because these are taxable, you know, these people are talking, you know, they're willing to pay the taxes and all that stuff, but they just can't go out and spend $150,000 building a cabin on the river they can't get insurance on.
Well, you know, we'll talk about that later. Go ahead.
I would just add too, Doug and I have had these discussions where I think he and I both also agree that we're finding something that the current status of the zoning as it directly relates to all the riverfront property is probably not what we want. He and I have individually, just the two of us have talked about the need to have some kind of river overlay that would allow for additional recreation and maybe even help with conservation at the same time. That's something that he and I both talked about. And I will add, and I think it was Commissioner Ellington, I don't remember exactly, one of y'all had a constituent where such a structure was destroyed by, I think it was you, Commissioner.
It was.
A constituent had come, a structure was destroyed by a storm, and technically our ordinance wouldn't permit its reconstruction, which, you know, by it. So staff made an administrative exception, which, you know, may or may not have been technically the right thing, but staff realized that wasn't the intent of the ordinance to prevent someone from repairing something that was destroyed by an act of God. So those types of things I think we definitely need to look at. That one in particular that kind of alerted us, and that's what got us talking about the subject. It's like, it doesn't even make sense that, you know, if it was a 750 square foot cabin that was on the tax rolls and it was permitted at some point, gets knocked over, we should re-permit it back on the same footprint, so.
Because what we're leaving the public choice to come in and for those who want to do it the right way, to come in, get the proper permits, get the proper inspection, proper information on the tax books versus doing it being found by, you know, tax assessors and then them just start paying taxes on it. Because that's basically what happens at that point. And at least we are controlling the, you know, the construction of it when it's being built, and we know it's safe, and it's that, you know, that's all I really got to say.
Okay. Jason, any other final thoughts?
Nothing, sir?
Heath or Pat?
I don't know if you have it on your agenda, but Commissioner Jones had 2 items that he wanted to
Oh, yeah,
add
that's
to.
right. That's right. Thank you.
And I did hold those to the agenda.
Thank you. I was gonna bring it up. We wouldn't
Hold
talk
on.
on
Let's get Commissioner Jones.
Yeah, your hair changed color and everything there, Pascal. Well, I was looking the other way. It was Pascal there, now it's Heath.
Now it's Heath.
Yeah.
I did tag team on.
Anyway, so,
Clark Kent left and Superman's here.
alright, so I got 2 things. One of them is not in my district, it happens to be in Lorenzo's district. Let's talk about it first, because I was approached by the guy, and I think James was approached by the guy. East Side Drive. It runs off Lanier Road, it's the
Thrill Hill.
Thrill Hill,
Roller coaster.
Roller coaster.
whatever you want to call it. It's, his little wife like got hit head on over there the other day, after the second call from him. People using the road for, to Thrill Hill, whatever you want to call it. And, they're endangering the lives of the people that live on that road. I approached Jason about it, and I've talked to some of y'all about it. You know, if we can, it's not a through road. If you look at it on the map, it's a U-shaped road. Everybody knows where it is. People on the road are asking if we can't put a speed hump or speed bump or whatever in there to slow the people down from using it. I mean, there was a thing on Facebook the other day, where's this road at? You know, and then they've been bombarded by traffic. And we need to, you need to live on a safe road. You don't need to be, looking down the headlights coming at you head on. And I don't know if there's anything we can do about it or not, but
This has come up before, and we looked at it, and y'all help me refresh my memory. Speed bumps were ruled out for some reason, because it was more of a safety issue.
Liability issue.
Yeah. And I reached out to the sheriff to see if he could refresh my memory, and he responded back in an email. He said possibly put some stop signs on there. Now, I'm not sure exactly where he would put the stop signs or recommend putting the stop signs, but, I don't know.
The stop sign wouldn't do much good if he's not there to enforce it.
but it's like I did talk to the sheriff, and he can't enforce the speed limit because the grade is over 7%. So, can't run radar on it. I don't know what else, we need to think about it, get some recommendations, I think. I don't want anybody to get killed over there. So, Up to y'all.
You wanna get with?
I had talked to the sheriff about this item as well, and because of that and some other roads, I've gotten complaints on that I've been transmitted to the sheriff's office about potentially increased patrols and such. We were looking at some of the speed detection devices, so that's something we're exploring. Studies show that those things actually work. So we actually have a conference call later on this week with a couple of vendors about some of those mobile units you can put on the side of the road. I mean, there's less expensive permitted options you can put out there. It basically, when you go by it, it says, it starts flashing and telling you you're speeding. People aren't sure whether or not they're being recorded or not, or whether their tags are being captured or whatever, and it gives you which those devices can do all that stuff. So we are looking into that. The sheriff and I both are looking into that jointly. The advice you were given prior to my arrival on speed arrest devices was probably good. I could probably give you 10 white papers on why you should not put speed bumps down, but.
Well, I mean, it's not a through road though.
Yeah.
So, if it was a through road, sure, but,
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's just like in anything, there'll be calls where, some people might say, oh yeah, it's gonna clock me, let's see how fast I can go. That's come up. Or, hey, there's a speed arrest device, I want to see how much air I can get off of there. You just can't win in those.
This is the second time in 3.5 years this issue's come before us. And,
Well, before us, and I think this road, who actually here's been down? It's an attraction for the board. I went down it as a teenager, but I'm just saying, there's got to be something we can do. Like Paul said, it's not a through road, and I get it. Speed bumps, tore my car up, et cetera. Well, an engineered speed bump. If you cross an engineered speed bump at the proper speed, then it won't cause any damage.
What was the liability issues ever brought up when y'all explored it before?
I don't remember the liabilities, but I know I talked to James about it, I guess about a week or 2 weeks ago, and he was telling me about it. I didn't go into what the actual liability issue is.
I think if you have to put in one of the more expensive, it's not like you're bolting down, the yellow bumps that you see. You'd have to put in one of those big ones that has a slope. It's a flat
Tabletops, yeah.
the slope down.
Yeah, properly engineered, they can be effective.
Yeah, I wouldn't see how, obviously they're right to advertising, but they can't get it approved. You have to approve it in the neighborhood, or they don't have to notify.
well, they told me they would get a
I
petition.
think the neighborhood wants something like that, whatever it
Right.
could take to slow them down.
Well, give us some.
East Side Drive, well, would you add that to your notes too? And then just give me a basic cost estimate on what it would take to go, maybe you and I can go ride it together. That's actually,
I
Actually,
really
like,
actually
you
know
get right
that
out there.
there was a tragedy happened out there, and families stood before us, and we had to make a decision at that point.
There's some guy rode through 5 times the other day.
There's probably a
Then
liability.
he stopped him, and the guy cussed him out, so.
Probably a liability of doing nothing, is what people have complained about.
All right, next one, Peacock Road. Peacock Road runs from the end of, it's really Fambro Road. The continuation of Fambro Road is paved on one end where it stops at, becomes Peacock Road, runs over to Willis Road over here in 3rd District. We don't have the money there's no gravel on this road. Jason can attest that maybe for the first 1/8 of a mile, if that far, it's got some gravel that the logging companies have put on there to haul timber out. The rest of it, solid dirt, all the way. anyway, so, got a landowner that owns 400 something acres right there. Cato owns some land right there too. People are using that road as a dumping ground and trespassing on their property, dumping trash and everything else. I would like to do a temporary road close on that. Not permanently close it, but temporarily close it, where the landowners, not landowner, but landowners can gate the road off until further development in the area or something, just to stop the dumping and the four-wheeling and tearing up the man's land, so.
That road serves, not that I can see, it serves no public purpose whatsoever.
Why would we own it? Why would we
Well,
not abandon it?
Why would you?
Well,
No, it's just abandoned.
they're worried that if they abandon it, then it will have to be, if they sell the land later on in life or whatever, that if they wanted to sell it, that they would have to bring the road up to county standards. And right now, you don't have to bring the road up to county standards, but you can temporarily close the road and put a gate up on each end and not do that. But it's got a 60-foot right of way or something down through there. But, you know, if the road reopened, then it'd have to be, and it'd be $1 million spent on putting.
Well, I guess my question is it a county road?
It is.
Would you not maintain it?
I mean, to call a road is a stretch. It's a.
It was a road at one time.
It was a road at one
If
time.
there's a 60-foot right of way.
It's barely passable.
That road was closed at one point, I don't know, from the Willis end of it. The Willis end actually,
Well,
it comes out in Lamar County.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, the Upson County line is the edge of the road, so it ends up on,
Private property in Lamar County?
no. That side of the road on Willis Road belongs to Upson County. The rest of it belongs, even though the city, the county limit sign's way over here, Upson County still owns that all the way down to just past Peacock Road. So,
Our road department over the last decade or so has taken the approach that if we don't maintain it, no one will use it.
yeah. But the landowners.
But even if you wanted to bring it up to some sort of standard of dirt road, it would take $200,000 minimum. There's no drainage on the road at all.
No ditches.
Not any to speak of. It's really it's a canal in sections. Is basically what it is. Yeah.
But anyway, I'm asking the board if they would,
It's a timber road at best.
temporarily close it until further.
Is there any legal implications in that?
I guess.
Well,
that.
let's stop the people from dumping us.
Yeah, because
Staff's preference would be to abandon
then
it.
we can, if we temporarily close it, we can get a gate put up on it. But if it's open,
If we're not kicking the can down the road for somebody after us, maybe 10, 15 years from now, they come back and say, hey, it's, by the way, temporarily closed, not abandoned. Now you gotta bring it back to code,
Right. Well, it's not.
or you gotta bring it some
It's never been up to any kind of standard. I can tell you that because it's so narrow in sections.
But if it was a county road, would it still be our responsibility to keep it up to a standard?
To whatever standard y'all set. Even
You might have several roads like that.
Yeah, we're gonna get Heath involved with that one, I think.
even if you were going to make it into somewhat of a passable road, you'd have to go outside of your easement onto private property even to be able to do drainage on it. I don't think there's any right of way.
trees at all.
It's just
It's a 60-foot right of way, all the way.
it shows that on the tax map, but they're assuming that for taxing purposes. It's not really. We don't.
You have to go back with the deeds and
there's not, I'm
You
pretty sure.
shouldn't abandon it, it would become a private road access, which would be his own parcel, which would have the names of anybody who uses it to access the property.
But it sounds like the owners out there
The
don't
owners
do
don't
that
want, the owners don't want to abandon the road.
because they're thinking it's
They don't
down the
care
road.
with it.
The only thing they require to be is to have the 60 foot for it to be a private parcel for private access to multiple lots. They would be required, unless the county wouldn't accept it unless it was brought up to
Paved,
county standards.
Right.
So
been paved.
Don't
that
y'all,
would be on the
And
land.
we'd have to put a bridge in and everything else.
That's the other issue, that there's an old bridge back there, that's not even on any registry or anything, an old timber bridge.
Yeah.
It's an old logging road.
so Paul, would it be okay for Jason and him just to look at it and come back to us with a recommendation?
But
We've already looked at it.
we've already looked at it, our recommendation would be to abandon it. So,
But that doesn't sound like that's what they want to do.
No.
but
We did talk about
it's not-
temporarily closing.
it's not up to them,
And you can't get, they can't always get what they want to do.
it's not up to the property
Yeah.
owner. Oh, yeah, no, I know, yeah,
You
it's
know,
not up to the property owner.
No, but yeah, he has a say, so.
So that's, if we can't temporarily close it, then they'll be happy with it being a mud hole.
Yeah.
No, they don't want to close it. They just want to figure out a way to keep people from trespassing.
So if it's a county road,
Yeah.
we're not maintaining it, if we don't abandon it, is there a liability? That old bridge, somebody goes down there and that bridge collapses, we have a liability issue then?
Yeah, well, it's even more,
Put a
it's
sign
even more
up saying
complicated than that
you're in
because
trouble.
the bridge doesn't ever get a regular inspection. If it did, they would close it. And that was the other thought, is just alert you out to the existence of the bridge, that would take care of it.
How big is the bridge? How long is the bridge?
Oh, it's a dirt covered wooden bridge.
It's small.
Don't GDOT get involved when the bridge is more than 20 feet or?
It's not on there.
No, it's just a creek. If it is had a pipe in there, it'd be, I mean,
So
I
the process to go through abandoning a road, is there there's public hearings?
Yes.
As part of that?
And an advertisement period.
Is that something, Paul, is that something you want to?
I'll talk to the landowner, but they did not want to abandon the road. All they wanted was to see if we would temporarily close it so they could put a gate in.
Is it local folks out there?
The people that own the property, I can't remember the doctor that owned that. He owns some more land on Mud Bridge Road too.
Up and down the state?
Yep. And, I think the family actually, I really don't know where they live. I know the tax bill is mailed to Valdosta. So they can't, can't keep an eye on it. I mean, it's either leave it like it is and let it go back over, or temporarily close it. They don't want to abandon it.
Running into issues with gating the public road, I don't think
If you temporarily close it, you can gate it.
the county can gate it or the property
The
owner.
property owner can gate it.
And then,
According to what I read.
I guess I would look to y'all and perhaps he can ask for some sort of, maybe engineers for some opinion on it, because, I mean, I hear this, kind of their cake eating too. Want you to keep it as a road, a named road.
But
okay,
they're not asking you to maintain it. Of course,
But they've not relinquished their right to demand in the future that we maintain it.
right,
If it
You'll let it continue, we'll
If
close it, let it continue to decline.
provides financial benefit to them.
right.
All right.
Well, I mean, like I said, if GDOT ever went and looked at the bridge, road would be closed. I've run into issues like this many times in my career. My recommendation is usually always this, especially when it's one landowner.
So,
Because it basically just serves them.
us in the form of a recommendation, or, you know, the process to move forward, either abandon it or temporarily close it. I think if we temporarily, and I'm not going to mind it, but if you temporarily close it, all you're doing is punt the ball down so that one day there's another, you're just going to be sitting here dealing with an issue that we had a hand in causing.
Who's maintaining the bridge? I mean, is it never washed out or?
No, they never washed out. I mean, you can drive down the road, I drove down it the other day.
You can get a motor grader across.
Yeah, the motor grader went across. I didn't see any, you know, of course, I didn't climb up under there and look at it, but I mean, it's probably got 2 foot of dirt on top of it. I mean, it's just a wooden structure. Put dirt on top of it.
All right, is there anything else? Heath, back to you. Is there anything else you need to mention to us?
He's out of the camera.
Well, I was just thinking it's really hard to hear y'all, but sounds like we've had a good meeting. The only thing I would add is Jason and I need to get together in the next week or two. We got a couple of loose ends to tie up. One being, of course, the railroad situation. We need to wrap that thing up and get a final on it from you guys. But again, I'll get with Jason and see when he can meet. We'll tie those up.
Okay. All right. Any final thoughts, comments?
How about you, Jessica?
Good meeting. Thank you, Jessica. Is there a motion to adjourn? Adjourn. Thank you.
I hate that we lost Ben. I tried him back a couple times.
So just tell us when we're out. I know you probably do.
We're still on live, y'all.
Family school. Have I got back with your section of the beach real busy? You were okay when I'm out here. Restaurants related to them.
Here, let me step out.
I'm on fishing, so I go on the boat, go back and get my stuff when I get out. I'm gonna be gone.
My wife's been